View on this as well, because not only was the director or the administrator at FEMA called up to testify today on the Hill, there were some lawmakers from states that are struggling to recover from the damage caused by the hurricanes that were also called to testify as witnesses in the hearings. I want you to watch now what one of those lawmakers from Florida, Congresswoman Castor, had to say. This was at the hearing earlier. Watch.
You would not believe the heartache and the cost of people having their lives out on the street. We've never seen anything like the scale of this. And to be able to say that FEMA is going to be there, the Congress is going to be there to help you clean up your communities is absolutely vital. My neighbors are already spending more on property insurance than any other place in the country. Electric bills are out of sight. They need Congress now to follow through with help in helping them rebuild their lives.
That was earlier today, the Congresswoman out of Florida. The hearing is continuing right now, the second of two hearings on Capitol Hill. Live pictures there from the hearing room. We'll continue to monitor the testimony in terms of how the FEMA administrator is handling all of this back and forth. And certainly the story about the Trump signs is what everybody's talking about. There's more to it, though, in terms of oversight of FEMA. Let's bring the aforementioned Congresswoman now, Castor from the state of Florida, into the conversation. The state was heavily impacted by Hurricane Helene. Certainly, we saw her testimony earlier in the day and played a clip from it, and now she joins us from Capitol Hill. All right, Congresswoman, can you hear me okay? I know you were just getting hooked up. What we're doing is we're using the same microphone, essentially, that Congressman Murphy was using, and now we made a little switcheroo. Here's Congresswoman Castor. You hear me okay, Congresswoman?
I can.
Very nice. Thank you for joining us. We watched part of your testimony. Expand on that if you can in terms of the message you were delivering today in the hearing.
Well, we need to get aid back home to our communities that suffered these disasters. They're so costly, disruptive, costing lives, and the faster we can speed emergency aid back home, the better. People are still living in shelters. They're grappling with their small business that has been sidelined. So one of the most important things that has to happen here over the next few weeks is passage of a disaster aid package, a bipartisan package, now that President Biden has sent over his proposal to the Congress.
The President asking Congress to approve this emergency disaster aid, $100 billion, right? So there was a sign when we took the live shot moments ago of the second hearing that's going on. There's the number 100 billion that said something to the effect of these disasters are nonpartisan. Someone's holding it up right now in the hearing room behind, there you go, behind the lawmaker who's addressing the witness there. Disasters are nonpartisan. What would you say about this story that's emerged where the FEMA employees were passing by, supposedly, the houses that had a Trump sign in front of them?
Yeah, it was good to hear the FEMA administrator that she took swift action, directing that employee was no longer employed by FEMA. And it's an unnecessary distraction because we really need to be focused on our neighbors back home, how they're rebuilding their homes, rebuilding their small businesses. And that's why Congress has got to pass the disaster aid package right now. If you want to rebuild your home and you need a low interest loan or you need a bridge loan from the Small Business Administration, rather than putting something on your high interest rate credit card, you need the SBA to have the funds necessary to disperse those loans. In my neck of the woods, in the Tampa Bay area, Hurricanes Helene and Milton were huge pollution events, and our economy runs on tourism and fishing. We have got to upgrade our water and wastewater systems now. The locals and the state cannot do it by themselves. We've got to build these back in a more resilient way, being very smart with the taxpayer dollar, because these massive hurricanes are coming. They're coming frequently, and they are so much more powerful than we've experienced in the past. So we've got to be smarter about the way we rebuild. We have to rebuild our Coast Guard Air Station. MacDill Air Force Base in Tampa, that's the home of Central Command and Special Operations Command. Port Tampa Bay, that is the lifeline for supply chains and supplies for the whole state of Florida, really. We have got to get these investments underway now, or they'll be more costly later.
And what about the timetable and doing all of that? First, getting the disaster aid approved. Now, say it does. That's $100 billion. There was a guy that we interviewed, one of our reporters down Treasure Island today, who was interviewing a guy who says, "Oh, man, I love it here. I have no desire to move. All I want to do is rebuild, but I just hope it doesn't take like 2 years because I don't want that to happen." But that's not a... It might, right? I mean, how long is something like this going to take?
Gosh, we can't afford to have it drag on. Right now, remember, unfortunately, my GOP colleagues delayed the rebuilding of the Francis Scott Key Bridge out of Baltimore. And time is money when it comes to rebuilding. You've got to get these resources down to the local level, get those contracts going, get the neighbors who are still trying to rebuild their homes and the small business owners, get them the loans that they need to make those repairs. And I think it's incumbent upon everyone to be urging the Congress to act. Don't get bogged down in the year-end partisan games and partisanship. This is time for action. We do not have any time to waste.
All right, thanks to Congresswoman Kathy Castor, Democrat from Florida, for joining us. More from the FEMA hearing is coming up here as we continue. It's closing bell time.